quiet hum of the cafe was shattered by Lauren's whispered confession to her best friend Amanda. "I feel stuck." What began as a casual coffee date spiraled into a night that unraveled everything. A marriage, a friendship, and a life carefully built. Her husband Mark's calm acceptance of her desire for an open marriage masked a calculated storm brewing beneath the surface. Weeks later, Lauren found herself standing amidst the ruins of her career, friendships, and love, staring at divorce papers and realizing the devastating cost of her choices. But Mark's revenge? It wasn't just tactical. It was poetic. But before we dive into the story, let me know where you're watching this from in the comments below. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. The cafe was alive with the gentle hum of conversations and the occasional clang of ceramic cups meeting saucers. Lauren stared down into the swirling vortex of her latte, her spoon moving in slow, repetitive circles. Across from her, Amanda leaned back in her chair, one eyebrow raised, waiting for Lauren to say something. "Okay," Amanda finally said, breaking the silence. "What's going on with you and Mark?" Lauren hesitated, her eyes darting to the corner of the cafe as if searching for an escape route. She sighed, setting the spoon down with a soft clink. "You know, everything is fine. He's a good husband. We've been married, what, almost 7 years now?" Amanda tilted her head, sensing there was more. Lauren continued, her voice dropping to a murmur. "But sometimes I feel like there should be more, you know?" "More?" Amanda leaned forward, her voice sharpening with curiosity. "Exactly." Lauren's hands fidgeted with her napkin. "It's like we're just comfortable. Mark thinks everything is perfect, but I need something that feels exciting again." Amanda smirked, a knowing look in her eyes. "Exciting how? Are we talking skydiving or something more personal?" Lauren flushed, her cheeks coloring like the sunset outside the cafe window. "I don't even know. I just feel stuck." Amanda tapped her manicured nails against her cup. "Ever thought about opening things up a bit, giving yourself space to explore other people?" Lauren froze, the suggestion hanging in the air like an unsaid confession. "Are you serious? Mark would never go for that." "Why not?" Amanda shrugged, her tone casual. "It doesn't have to mean the end of anything. My husband and I tried it. It's not as scary as it sounds." Lauren blinked, stunned. "You did?" Amanda nodded, her voice softening. "It's not about cheating or sneaking around. It's about honesty, about giving each other room to grow. You'd be surprised how much closer you can become when there's no fear, no secrets." Lauren's voice was barely above a whisper. "But how do you even bring that up? I mean, Mark would never expect this from me." Amanda leaned forward, her expression serious now. "You don't make it about him. This isn't about Mark not being enough. It's about you needing something more. Frame it as personal growth, not criticism." The cafe noise seemed to fade into the background as Lauren considered Amanda's words. Her stomach churned, a mix of fear and intrigue bubbling within her. The drive home was a blur of headlights and half-formed thoughts. Lauren gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white against the leather. Amanda's words echoed in her mind, circling like a hawk over prey. Be honest. Frame it as personal growth. Honesty. The word felt heavier than the air around her. What if honesty broke them? What if Mark didn't understand? But then again, what if he did? Lauren parked the car in the driveway, staring at the warm glow of the house's front windows. Inside, Mark would be in his usual spot, probably reading or watching the news, oblivious to the storm brewing within her. She closed her eyes, drawing in a deep breath. Her thoughts tumbled like waves in a storm. Was their marriage a ship drifting too far from shore? Or was she just looking for the thrill of a storm to feel alive again? Her mind wandered to their early years together, how they used to stay up all night talking about everything and nothing, the way his laughter could light up a room. But now, those moments felt distant, like faded photographs at the bottom of a drawer. Lauren stepped inside, the familiar scent of home wrapping around her like a blanket. She could hear Mark in the living room, his low chuckle as he scrolled through his phone. She hesitated in the hallway, her hand resting on the edge of the wall. Would this conversation draw them closer, or would it shatter the fragile equilibrium they had built? She thought of Amanda's advice again, frame it as growth. But every word she rehearsed in her head sounded wrong, felt like a betrayal of the man she had promised to love forever. Could she really do this? Could she tell him that their life together wasn't enough anymore? Her heart raced, her breath quickening. Honesty wasn't just a risk, it was a leap into the unknown, and she wasn't sure if Mark would catch her or let her fall. Lauren entered the living room, her footsteps soft against the carpet. Mark glanced up from his phone, smiling when he saw her. "Hey," he said, setting the device down. "How was your coffee date?" "It was good. Lauren's voice trembled slightly, betraying her nerves. Mark frowned, his brow furrowing. "You okay? You look like something's on your mind." She sat down across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Mark, can we talk?" His expression shifted, concern etched into his features. "Of course. What's going on?" Lauren took a deep breath, the words lodged in her throat. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about our marriage." Mark's posture stiffened slightly, his eyes searching hers. "What about it?" She hesitated, her gaze dropping to her hands. "I love you, I do, but sometimes I feel like something's missing, like we've settled into this routine and I don't know if it's enough for me anymore." The room fell silent, the weight of her confession hanging heavily between them. Mark leaned forward, his voice steady but tinged with confusion. "Lauren, what are you saying? That you're not happy?" "It's not that simple." Her voice cracked, emotion spilling into her words. "I feel like I need something more. I don't even know what that is, but I need to find out. And I want to do it with you, not against you." Mark's jaw tightened, his face a mixture of hurt and disbelief. "Are you saying you want to see other people?" Lauren nodded slowly, her heart pounding in her chest. "I don't know if that's the answer, but I think we need to talk about what we both want, what we both need." Mark stared at her, his eyes glassy with unshed tears. "Lauren, I don't even know what to say." The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. Lauren felt a lump rise in her throat, but she forced herself to meet his gaze. "I don't want to lose you, Mark. I just want us to be honest about where we are and what we need." Mark rubbed his face with his hands, his voice low and strained. "I never thought I'd hear this from you. I don't know if I can do this." Lauren reached out, her hand trembling as it rested on his. "I'm not asking you to decide right now. Just think about it. Please." Mark didn't pull away, but he didn't respond either. They sat there in the heavy silence, two people standing on opposite sides of a chasm, unsure if they could bridge the gap or if it would swallow them whole. The city skyline sparkled like shattered glass as Lauren stepped out of Amanda's car, her heels clicking on the pavement. The nightclub stood before them, a monolith of pulsating neon lights and muffled bass beats. Amanda looped her arm through Lauren's, her grin mischievous. "Ready to see what freedom looks like?" Amanda teased, leading her toward the entrance. Lauren hesitated, glancing at the bouncer, who barely glanced at Amanda's ID before letting them through. "I'm not sure about this," she muttered, clutching her purse tightly. Amanda rolled her eyes. "Relax. This isn't a marriage counseling session. It's just a night out." Inside, the club was alive with energy, strobing lights, bodies moving in rhythm, and a DJ commanding the crowd from his elevated booth. Lauren's senses were overwhelmed, the thrum of the music vibrating through her chest. Amanda guided her toward the bar, expertly navigating the crowd. "2 martinis," Amanda said to the bartender before turning back to Lauren. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Lauren shook her head, her voice barely audible over the music. "This isn't exactly my scene." That's the point, Amanda replied, pressing a drink into her hand. You need to loosen up. Look around you. These people are living their lives, no strings, no rules. Isn't that what you wanted? A little more excitement? Lauren sipped her drink, the alcohol warming her throat. She scanned the room, her gaze landing on a group of people laughing at a nearby table. They seemed carefree, untethered by the worries she carried like stones in her pocket. Amanda nudged her. See that guy over there, the one with the leather jacket? He's been looking at you since we walked in. Lauren followed Amanda's gaze, spotting a tall man leaning casually against the bar. His dark hair was tousled, his smile easy. When their eyes met, he raised his glass in a silent toast. Lauren's heart skipped a beat. He's cute, Amanda said, a sly smile playing on her lips. Go talk to him. Lauren shook her head quickly. No way, I wouldn't even know what to say. Then let him come to you, Amanda said, waving to the bartender for another round. Trust me, Lauren, this is your chance to explore. No pressure, no expectations, just enjoy yourself. Lauren hesitated, but the music and the atmosphere seemed to loosen something inside her. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of curiosity, a pull toward the unknown. Lauren was still at the bar when he approached, his confident stride cutting through the crowd. Up close, his presence was magnetic. Broad shoulders, a strong jawline, and an air of self-assurance that made her feel both intrigued and nervous. Hi, he said, his voice smooth but not rehearsed. I'm Charlie. Can I buy you a drink? Lauren blinked, momentarily caught off guard. Oh, sure. I'm Lauren. Nice to meet you, Lauren, Charlie said, signaling to the bartender. What's your poison? She hesitated. Another martini, I guess. As the bartender prepared their drinks, Charlie leaned against the bar, his gaze fixed on her. So, what brings you here tonight? Celebrating something? Lauren laughed nervously. Not exactly, just trying something new. Charlie smiled, his expression warm and inviting. Well, here's to new experiences. They clinked glasses and Lauren felt a rush of exhilaration as she took a sip. The conversation flowed easily, Charlie's charm putting her at ease. He told her about his work as a graphic designer, his love of live music, and his penchant for late-night adventures. Lauren found herself laughing, her initial apprehension melting away. You've got a great laugh, Charlie said, his eyes twinkling. I bet you don't use it enough. Lauren blushed, a smile tugging at her lips. Maybe not. Well, he said, leaning in slightly, I think we should fix that. Lauren's pulse quickened at his proximity, the heady mix of alcohol and attention making her feel alive in a way she hadn't in years. She glanced at Amanda, who gave her an encouraging thumbs up from across the room. As the night went on, Charlie suggested they move to the dance floor. Lauren hesitated, but ultimately allowed him to lead her into the crowd. The music enveloped them, and she let herself get lost in the rhythm, her inhibitions falling away with each beat. Charlie's hands rested lightly on her waist, their movements in sync, and Lauren couldn't remember the last time she had felt so free. When the song ended, Charlie leaned in, his voice low against her ear. Can I see you again? Lauren hesitated, the weight of her reality pressing against the edges of this moment. She thought of Mark, of their conversation at the dining table, and the calm way he had agreed to this experiment. Was this the freedom she had been searching for, or was she venturing into something she couldn't take back? I don't know, she said, stepping back slightly. Charlie studied her, his expression understanding but persistent. No pressure, Lauren, just think about it. As he disappeared into the crowd, Lauren stood there, her heart pounding. The thrill of the evening lingered, but so did a faint undercurrent of guilt. She glanced at Amanda, who gave her an encouraging smile. Lauren took a deep breath, the night's events swirling in her mind. This was only the beginning, and she wasn't sure where it would lead. But for the first time in years, she felt alive. And that was something she couldn't ignore. Lauren stepped into Charlie's house, the low hum of conversation and laughter mingling with the faint thump of music. The air smelled of expensive cologne and freshly poured wine. Amanda nudged her lightly, a grin spreading across her face. "You're finally here. How does it feel?" Amanda asked, her voice barely audible over the crowd. Lauren scanned the room, her pulse quickening as she recognized a few familiar faces from the club. "Honestly," she said, her voice unsure, "I'm still processing everything. I told Mark, and he agreed, no arguing, no anger." It was strange. Amanda arched an eyebrow as they wove through the clusters of people. "That's a good thing, isn't it? It means he's open-minded. Trust me, this will be good for both of you." Lauren nodded, though doubt lingered. Her eyes caught Charlie across the room, his confident stance and warm smile cutting through the chaos. He waved when their eyes met, and Amanda whispered, "Go on, say hi. He's been waiting." Gathering her courage, Lauren approached. Charlie was leaning casually against the counter, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Lauren," he said, his tone low and inviting. "I didn't think I'd see you here." She smiled, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. "I didn't think I'd be here either." They talked easily, the conversation flowing as naturally as it had at the club. Charlie's flirtations were more direct this time, his compliments making her blush. He touched her arm lightly, guiding her toward a quieter corner of the house. "I've never seen this side of you, Lauren," he said, his voice soft yet deliberate. Lauren felt a strange mix of thrill and uncertainty. "I guess I'm feeling different tonight." The night unfolded in a blur of stolen glances and shared laughter. Amanda gave her a knowing nod before disappearing into the crowd, leaving Lauren alone with Charlie. As the party thinned, Charlie leaned closer. "Do you want to get out of here?" Her heart raced. She hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Okay." They left together, the cool night air sobering her thoughts only slightly. Charlie drove them to a nearby motel, the hum of the engine filling the silence between them. Inside, under the dim glow of a bedside lamp, Lauren found herself surrendering to the moment. For the first time in years, she let go of everything, the doubts, the fears, the routine. The next morning, the sunlight streaming through the thin motel curtains brought clarity that the night had blurred. Lauren dressed quietly, her thoughts tangled. Charlie stirred, offering her a lazy smile. "Good morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "You okay?" Lauren forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine." As she left, the cool morning air stung her cheeks, waking her fully. She called Mark on the drive home, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Where are you, Mark?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "At the office," Mark replied casually. "There's a big project that'll take up a lot of my time. Don't worry, everything's fine." His tone was calm, composed. Too composed. Lauren couldn't shake the feeling that he was putting up a wall, even as he reassured her. The distance between them felt more tangible than ever. She hung up, her chest tightening as the weight of the situation settled over her. Later that week, Amanda invited her to another gathering, this time at Charlie's house. Lauren hesitated but agreed, hoping to recapture the thrill of her first night out. Charlie greeted her warmly when she arrived, his charm as effortless as ever. The party was livelier than the last, the music louder, the drinks flowing more freely. Amanda nudged her toward Charlie, whispering, "Go on, have fun. That's what this is all about." As the evening progressed, the atmosphere grew more intimate. Charlie leaned closer, his touch lingering. At one point, he offered her a drink, his eyes holding a question. "Ready for a new experience?" he asked, his voice low. Lauren hesitated, her pulse quickening. The room seemed to close in around her, the laughter and music fading into the background. She shook her head, stepping back. "Actually, I don't think I'm ready for this." "Not yet." Charlie studied her for a moment, his expression softening. "That's okay," he said, his tone understanding. "Take your time." She retreated to the kitchen, where Amanda found her moments later. You okay? Amanda asked, concern flickering in her eyes. I think I need to go home, Lauren said quietly. Amanda didn't press her, offering a reassuring smile instead. Lauren arrived home late, the house silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. She slipped off her shoes, her steps cautious as she made her way to the living room. Mark was there, seated at the desk with his laptop open. He didn't look up when she entered. Hey, she said softly, her voice tentative. Hey, Mark replied without turning around. You're back late. Yeah, Lauren said, hovering in the doorway. How's the project going? Busy, Mark said simply. Lots to do. The conversation felt stilted, the warmth they once shared now replaced by a growing divide. Lauren sat on the edge of the couch, watching him. His calm demeanor unsettled her. He wasn't angry, wasn't accusatory. If anything, he seemed detached. I was thinking, she began, her words faltering, maybe we should talk more about this whole arrangement. Mark finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. What is there to talk about? You wanted space and I'm giving it to you. His words stung more than she expected. That's not what I meant, she said quietly. I just don't want us to lose each other. Mark's gaze lingered on her for a moment before he returned to his work. We'll be fine, Lauren. Just give it time. Lauren nodded, though her chest felt heavy. As she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted irreversibly between them. It was late when Lauren arrived home from Charlie's party, the weight of her unease pressing heavily on her chest. The house was eerily quiet, its usual warmth replaced by an unsettling emptiness. She flicked on the lights and froze. The living room was untouched, but something was wrong. The framed photo of her and Mark from their honeymoon was missing from the mantel. Her pulse quickened as she rushed upstairs, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor. In their bedroom, the reality hit her like a tidal wave. Mark's side of the closet was empty, the hangers swinging slightly as if mocking her. His dresser drawers were open, their contents gone. On the nightstand, a neat stack of papers caught her eye. Her hands trembled as she picked them up. Divorce papers. The world seemed to tilt on its axis as she scanned the documents. Mark's name was there, his signature at the bottom, crisp and final. Her breath came in shallow gasps, her vision blurring. This wasn't just an argument or a misunderstanding. This was an ending. On top of the papers was a small envelope with her name written in Mark's familiar handwriting. She opened it, her fingers shaking. I gave you the space you asked for. I hope it was everything you needed. Mark. Her knees buckled and she sank onto the edge of the bed. Her mind raced, replaying every moment, every conversation, every quiet look she had ignored. How long had he been planning this? As the initial shock subsided, anger and fear began to surface. She grabbed her phone, her fingers fumbling to call him. The first call went straight to voicemail. Lauren's heart pounded as she tried again. The same result. Mark, where are you? She said aloud, the panic in her voice rising. She left a message, her words tumbling over one another. Please call me, we need to talk. I don't understand what's going on. She hung up and immediately tried again. Nothing. It was as if he had vanished, leaving her with nothing but questions and the cold finality of those papers. Desperation clawed at her as she searched the house for answers. In his office, she rifled through his desk drawers, her movements frantic. She found nothing until she opened his laptop. The screen was locked, but a file folder on the desktop caught her attention. Its title made her stomach drop. Lauren, Investigation. She sat down, her hands trembling as she stared at the screen. Investigation? What had he done? Her mind filled with terrifying possibilities. Her phone buzzed, and for a fleeting moment, hope surged. But it wasn't Mark. It was Amanda. "Lauren, are you okay?" Amanda asked, her voice laced with concern. Lauren's voice cracked. "Mark's gone. He left divorce papers. And I think he's been watching me." There was silence on the other end before Amanda replied. "What do you mean, watching you?" Lauren's words spilled out, her voice shaking. "There's a folder on his laptop. Photos, messages, I don't know what else. He must have hired someone. Amanda, he knew everything." Tears streamed down her face as she pieced it together. Mark had been calm, composed, even detached in recent weeks. Not because he accepted her choices, but because he had been preparing to leave. He had let her think she was in control while quietly gathering evidence. She opened her texts and scrolled through her messages with Charlie. The conversations were harmless on the surface, but to Mark they might have been something else entirely. Then she remembered the nights out, the moments she thought were private but perhaps weren't. Was he watching her the whole time? She tried calling him again, her hands trembling. Still, only voicemail. "Mark," she said, her voice breaking. "Please call me. I need to talk to you. I need to fix this." But deep down, she feared it was already too late. Mark had been planning this for longer than she realized, and now he was gone. Lauren arrived at work Monday morning with a gnawing sense of dread. The office seemed unusually quiet as she stepped inside, the air heavy with unspoken tension. Her coworkers avoided her gaze, and whispers followed her down the hallway. At her desk, she found an envelope addressed to her. Her hands shook as she opened it, her eyes scanning the words with growing horror. It was a memo from HR, requesting her immediate presence in a meeting regarding conduct unbecoming of a professional employee. The meeting was brief but devastating. Mark had sent a packet of evidence to her workplace, detailing her actions during their open marriage arrangement. The documents included screenshots of text messages between her and Charlie, photos taken during their nights out, and even witness statements from private investigators Mark had hired. Every intimate detail of her personal life was now public knowledge. The HR manager's voice was cold and distant. "Lauren, while we do not police employees' private lives, these actions have reflected poorly on the company. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated." Lauren sat frozen, her mind reeling. She barely managed to pack her belongings before leaving the office under the watchful eyes of her colleagues. As she walked to her car, shame and anger churned inside her. Mark hadn't just left her. He had dismantled her life, piece by piece. Lauren didn't have time to process the loss of her job before the fallout with Amanda began. That evening, Amanda showed up at Lauren's door, her face flushed with anger. "How could you?" Amanda's voice was sharp, cutting through the silence. "Did you think this wouldn't affect anyone else?" Lauren blinked, stunned. "Amanda, what are you talking about?" "Mark sent everything to my husband," Amanda snapped. "The texts, the photos, everything. He knows about us, about Charlie, about the parties." Lauren's heart sank. I didn't ask Mark to do that. I didn't know. Don't you dare." Amanda's voice cracked, her anger giving way to hurt. "You let this happen. You dragged me into your mess, and now my husband is filing for divorce." "I didn't mean for this to happen," Lauren said, her voice barely above a whisper. Amanda's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was cold. "You destroyed everything. My marriage, my life. Do you even care?" "I do," Lauren said desperately. "I'm sorry, Amanda." But Amanda shook her head. "Sorry doesn't fix this. I can't do this anymore. I can't be around you." With that, Amanda turned and left, slamming the door behind her. Lauren stood there, the weight of Amanda's words pressing down on her like a lead blanket. She had lost her job, her closest friend, and her sense of stability, all because of one choice. The coffee shop where they had agreed to meet was quiet, the murmur of soft conversations blending with the occasional clink of cups. Lauren sat by the window, her hands clasped tightly around a lukewarm mug of tea. When Mark entered, his expression was calm, unreadable, the same detached demeanor that had haunted her since he left. "Thanks for meeting me," Lauren said, her voice trembling. She gestured to the seat across from her, and Mark sat down, folding his hands on the table. "What do you need, Lauren?" he asked, his tone even but distant. Lauren took a deep breath, fighting back the tears threatening to spill. "Mark, I made a mistake. I thought opening our marriage would bring us closer, that it would give us something exciting. But I was wrong. It wasn't about us, it was about me. And I didn't see it until it was too late." Mark's gaze didn't waver, but his silence felt heavier than words. Lauren pressed on, desperation creeping into her voice. "I miss you. I miss us. I don't want to lose everything we built together. Please, forgive me. I know I've hurt you." Mark exhaled deeply, his expression softening for a brief moment before he spoke. "Lauren, I wanted us to work. But you weren't honest with me. From the beginning, this wasn't about us. It was about you needing something I couldn't give. And instead of talking to me, you turned to someone else." Tears welled in Lauren's eyes as she shook her head. "I thought I was doing what we both needed. I thought I could fix it." Mark's voice was steady, but his words cut deep. "You didn't ask me what I needed. You made decisions for both of us, and now I can't trust you anymore. I wanted to end this cleanly, without anger or blame. But I don't think we can fix this, Lauren." Lauren's hand reached across the table, but Mark pulled back, his resolve unshaken. "I wish you well," he said softly before standing up. He hesitated, then added, "Take care of yourself, Lauren." As he walked away, the emptiness in Lauren's chest seemed to expand, consuming the small hope she had carried into this meeting. The days that followed felt like an endless gray blur. Lauren sat alone in her small apartment, surrounded by boxes of her belongings, fragments of a life she no longer recognized. The divorce papers sat on the counter, signed and final. Mark's words replayed in her mind, echoing with painful clarity. She stared out the window at the bustling city below, thinking about the choices that had led her here. She had wanted excitement, freedom, something to shake her from the monotony of her life. Instead, she had lost everything. In the stillness of her solitude, Lauren began to confront the truths she had avoided for so long. She had been selfish, blind to the needs of those around her. She had mistaken her own restlessness for something missing in her marriage, when in reality, it had been her own inability to find fulfillment. The betrayal wasn't just what she had done to Mark, it was how she had betrayed herself, her own values, in search of fleeting thrills. But beneath the crushing guilt, there was a glimmer of hope, a whisper of a chance to rebuild, not her marriage, but herself. Lauren picked up a notebook and began to write, letters she would never send, apologies to the people she had hurt, and promises to herself to never lose sight of what truly mattered again. Each word felt like a step forward, a small piece of redemption in a world that felt irreparably broken. As weeks turned into months, Lauren started to rebuild her life. She took on freelance work, found solace in therapy, and reconnected with small joys she had once ignored. A walk in the park, the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the satisfaction of a book well read. She didn't expect forgiveness from Mark, nor from Amanda, whose lives she had irrevocably altered, but she hoped, one day, to forgive herself. Looking out at the city lights, Lauren whispered a silent vow, "I'll do better." Though the weight of her mistakes remained, she carried it not as a burden, but as a reminder, a scar that told her she had survived and could grow from the ashes of her choices. And in that, there was hope.